Sometimes life throws you a miracle in the strangest disguise. And for Marco Reyes, that miracle isn't wrapped in fortune or fame, but in weathered wood and rusted iron sitting like a forgotten relic in the desert. Marco is a former Navy diver, a man who once thrived in the silence of the ocean's depths. But now he drowns in overdue bills and the looming shadow of a custody battle for his daughter, Isla. At 38, with hands stained by salt water and machinery, Marco carries the look of someone who has fought too many tides and won too few. Esperanza, the small California town he calls home, is fading into obscurity, a place bypassed by highways and forgotten by progress. Yet within this crumbling town, Marco finds his anchor, his 8-year-old daughter, Isla, whose imagination turns every corner of their simple life into an adventure. She collects rocks, names stray cats, and asks questions that weigh more than they sound. Then one day a letter arrives. His great uncle Tomas, a man Marco barely remembers, has died and left him something unexpected. Not money, not land, a ship. A Spanish galleon stranded 5 miles from the nearest water, once part of a failed theme restaurant. Everyone thinks it's worthless junk, a ghost of grand ideas. But when Marco takes Isla to see it, the desert mirage becomes a towering vessel of faded blues and golds, carved with the skill of true artisans. And while most see decay, Isla presses her small hand to the hull and whispers, "She's beautiful." For Marco, it's more than a ship. It's a chance, however fragile, to give his daughter hope in a world where he feels like he's losing everything. The ship doesn't sit alone in the desert. Watching over it is Luis Herrera, an old caretaker with denim-colored eyes and decades of stories etched into his skin. He explains how Tomas bought the vessel from a movie studio in the 60s, built authentically, down to every joint and plank from real Spanish designs. Most dismissed it as Hollywood craftwork, but Luis insists Tomas believed the ship carried deeper secrets. As Marco and Isla climb aboard, the deck surprises them. It feels solid, alive, as if it had once cut across oceans, not sand. Coils of rope lie arranged as though the crew had just stepped away. Isla seizes the wheel, her face glowing as she pretends to sail across desert seas, while Marco studies the planks with the eyes of a diver trained to spot truth in details. The joints, the wear on the wood, the placement of iron fittings, they feel too authentic to be props. Then Isla discovers something. A sealed hatch near the stern, its wood newer, deliberately aged to match the rest, locked as though guarding a secret. Curiosity wins over caution. With Luis's tools, Marco pries it open, and instead of the rot and dust he expects, a rush of air escapes, smelling of sea spray and old books. Inside, they find a hidden chamber untouched by time. Gleaming wood, polished brass, and in its center, a massive ebony desk covered in charts, instruments, and a logbook dated 1712. Isla points at the name inside, Captain Alejandro Meridia. Marco's pulse quickens. The charts show a coastline that doesn't exist anymore, with a deep bay where their town now stands. Suddenly, this isn't just a ship. It's history rewriting itself, and Marco knows they've stepped into something much bigger than a summer project. Mystery grows heavier with every discovery. The ship's bell rings on windless nights, Luis says, and sometimes voices echo in the lower deck speaking Spanish about events long past. Marco should dismiss it, but when they hear the toll themselves, rich, deep, resonating through the wood, doubt turns to awe. Isla insists the ship wants them to find her secrets, that she's been waiting. Marco, torn between logic and wonder, begins to see this vessel not as a burden but as an ally in his fight to keep custody of his daughter. But the clock is merciless. The court hearing looms in 60 days, a deadline that feels like a storm on the horizon. Seeking answers, Marco brings Isla to the town library, where Rosa Martinez, the wise old librarian, reveals that Tomas spent decades digging into the ship's past. She shares files from Carlos Herrera, Luis's brother, who believed Spanish settlers lived here centuries earlier, building around a bay that vanished into desert. The name Meridia surfaces again, linked to forbidden knowledge and secrets suppressed by the Inquisition. Then Rosa shows them an artifact from Carlos's collection, a strange astrolabe, older than it should be, engraved with unknown constellations and mathematical notations centuries ahead of their time. When Isla presses her face to the glass, the brass instrument glows faintly, pulsing with light as if alive. The pieces start connecting, the logbook, the charts, the bell, the astrolabe, and Marco realizes they're not chasing a local legend. They're standing inside a vessel that should not exist in this condition, holding no knowledge that should not exist at all. And if Meridia was real, then someone went to extraordinary lengths to erase him from history. Back aboard the ship, the discoveries accelerate. In the compass room, what looks like an ordinary navigation tool reveals itself to be something extraordinary, a crystalline sphere suspended in brass. When Isla touches it, the sphere comes alive, glowing golden and singing a haunting tone that resonates through the hull. Charts appear on the walls, covered in calculations centuries ahead of their time. Marco recognizes patterns that wouldn't be mapped until the 20th century. Currents, thermal layers, tidal shifts. And then a stranger arrives. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a maritime historian, steps aboard, drawn by Luis's reports. She's been studying Captain Meridia for 15 years, dismissed by peers for chasing legends. But here, in this glowing compass room, she finds the proof she's been searching for. She explains Meridia's reputation, a navigator accused of unnatural methods, able to sail through storms, predict tides, and chart impossible routes. Some claimed he borrowed knowledge from civilizations predating European exploration. As they speak, the ship itself seems to respond. The bell glows, inscriptions emerge, declaring the vessel guardian of lost secrets. Dr. Vasquez warns Marco, what they've uncovered will attract attention far beyond their small town. Historians, archaeologists, treasure hunters, and worse. Before the weight of that warning can sink in, Marco's phone buzzes. His ex-wife calls, furious after reporters contacted her about the treasure ship. She accuses him of filling Isla's head with fantasies. But as Marco hangs up and looks around at glowing artifacts and living history, he knows this isn't fantasy. It's a truth too big to ignore, and maybe, just maybe, the key to proving he can give Isla more than stability. He can give her wonder. Soon the ship transforms into an archaeological dig as Dr. Vasquez brings a research team. They bring radar, scanners, and instruments, documenting every impossible artifact. A mechanical star chart calculator built into a wall, capable of predicting eclipses centuries into the future. When tested, it calculates celestial events with NASA-level accuracy. But Isla sees something others overlook. She asks if the machine wants to show them something, not just answer questions. When the team sets the date to 1712, the year carved into the ship's log, the machine responds wildly, spitting out coordinates tied to specific dates. October 15, 1712, March 3, 1713, September 21, 1715. And then one more, October 15, 2025. Marco freezes. That's the exact date of his custody hearing. The coordinates point first to the ship's current location, then to the coast nearby, and finally to an ocean trench Marco has dived before. Suddenly, this isn't just history, it's prophecy. The ship is mapping significance across time itself. Marco's phone buzzes again, but this time it's not his ex-wife. It's a text from an unknown number. We know about the ship. We know about the artifacts. Cooperate and your family situation will resolve in your favor. Corporate interest has arrived, and they're not playing fair. As tension builds, a new figure enters, Father Miguel Santos, an elderly priest who claims he's been waiting decades for someone to unlock the ship's secrets. He carries with him Alejandro Meridia's hidden journal, diagrams of ancient technology, and preserved plants from a chamber that still exists deep within the galleon. He explains that Meridia didn't invent these marvels. He rediscovered knowledge from civilizations erased by time. The ship itself, he says, is more than wood and iron. It's a library, a sanctuary designed to safeguard wisdom too powerful to release recklessly. But before this truth can settle, black SUVs approach across the desert. Out steps Victoria Chen, the cold, commanding face of Meridian Technologies, a corporation with more money than conscience. She waves legal documents, claiming Marco's inheritance is invalid, offering Dr. Vasquez funding, and dangling promises of making Marco's custody battle disappear if he cooperates. To her, the ship is a goldmine of renewable energy, agriculture, and navigation breakthroughs ripe for exploitation. Father Santos warns that the Inquisition once made the same promises in Meridia's time, disguising greed as the greater good. But Chen presses harder, telling Marco this is his chance to secure a future for Isla if he surrenders everything else. The desert wind stills. The ship creaks. And Marco feels the weight of a decision that could shape not only his life, but the fate of secrets hidden for centuries. Conflict ignites. Chen's team presses with veiled threats, while Dr. Vasquez and Father Santos argue for preservation. Isla, standing at the wheel, cuts through the noise with a child's clarity. She accuses Chen of wanting to take the ship just like she wants. To take her away from her father. Her words pierce deeper than any argument, and for a moment even Chen falters. But the corporate convoy isn't leaving without answers, and as tension mounts, the ship itself responds. The compass hums, the bell tolls, and golden light seeps through the carvings, projecting maps and constellations into the desert night. Marco realizes this isn't coincidence. The ship is alive, choosing its guardians, protecting its secrets from those unworthy. But protection has a cost. Father Santos warns that Meridia vanished rather than let his discoveries fall into the wrong hands. Now Marco stands at that same crossroads. Cooperate and gain temporary security, or resist and risk everything. He looks at Isla, who whispers, "Dad, the real treasure is what we protect, not what we sell." And in that moment, Marco knows the ship chose correctly when it rang its bell for him and his daughter. The choice is terrifying, but it's clear. Some knowledge must remain hidden until the world is ready. The desert night holds its breath as Marco makes his decision. He tells Chen and her entourage they have no claim here, no right to secrets that predate even recorded history. Furious, she threatens legal ruin and worse, but the ship seems to respond, its glow intensifying, its presence undeniable. Dr. Vasquez and Father Santos stand beside Marco, allies chosen not by circumstance but by destiny. Isla grips her father's hand, her voice steady as she declares that the ship is their family now, too, a guardian not just of lost knowledge but of hope. And though Marco knows the custody battle still looms, though bills will still pile on his kitchen table, he feels something stronger than fear, conviction. The ship isn't a burden. It's a chance to teach his daughter that the greatest treasures are the ones you exploit, but the ones you honor. As headlights fade into the distance and the desert returns to silence, Marco whispers a promise to the glowing bell, that its secrets will remain safe with them. The story isn't over. In fact, it's only beginning. And if you've stayed with me through this incredible journey, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I have another story that will pull you even deeper into mysteries you won't want to miss. Share this with someone who loves a good adventure, and remember, sometimes the most extraordinary treasures aren't found in gold or silver, but in the choices we make to protect what matters most.